Good morning, baseball. It is your boy NMR Sports here, coming back at you with my lovely co-host Franklin P. Helmstetter, joined by his lovely plants in the background. He finally freed them from their plastic prison cell. Frank, welcome to Good Morning Baseball. It's been a minute. It's been 2 days. Feels like an eternity. What you been up to?
Yeah, it has felt like an eternity. We've just had some, I think one technical difficulty or something, or I wasn't feeling too good one night as well. So it's just been kind of a rough couple days, but we're eager to get back to it. You know, I enjoy talking about baseball, and I'm excited, man.
Yeah, I feel you there, man.
Yeah.
I know everybody's been, I've been getting so many DMs, like, where are you guys? Are you okay? Like, I'm making all of these up right now because none of them existed, but I know everyone was thinking deep down, where's that Good Morning Baseball notification?
Yeah.
Well, anyways, baseball was played last night in most cases. I'm looking at you, Cleveland Guardians. We'll get to that in just a minute, but let's do a little recap, shall we? Let's dive right in. The Chicago Cubs, in the friendly confines of Wrigley Field, take on the Red Sox, beat them 6-5. Hansel Robles getting the loss there. Another blown save opportunity for him. Not even a save opportunity, but a mid-game relief appearance. Hansel Robles probably on the road to getting DFA'd this season. The Rays lose 9-2 to the Blue Jays. Couldn't score any runs off the worst pitcher in baseball. The Phillies, 5-3. Nolan Arenado did something special in this one, but unfortunately the Cardinals could not win the ball game. Phillies win 5-3. Miles Mikolas gets his 6th loss of the season. Marlins 6-3 victory over the Washington Nationals. Josiah Gray gets another loss on the year. And Taylor Rogers, not to be confused with Tyler Rogers or Taylor Rogers. Actually, no, it's the wrong Rogers. Give me a sec. Trevor Rogers. That's too many T. Rogers. He's not even related to the other two. But Trevor Rogers gets the victory, his 4th of the season. Braves 9-1 victory over the Reds. Not a whole lot of fireworks in that one, but there were a lot of fireworks in Pittsburgh. The Brewers 19-2 victory over the Pirates. Corbin Burns with a nice outing there. Not so great of pitching on the Pirates end. Royals with a 3-1 victory over the Detroit Tigers in the poverty off of the century. Mets 4-3 over the Rangers. Business as usual for the Mets. D-backs 9-3 victory over the Rockies. Snap I believe it was an 11-game road losing streak in division. So very specific one there. Shout out to my boy Zach for giving me that. Angels Astros 8-1 victory for the Houston Astros. Possibly the best team in baseball now. The Twins late game victory over the Baltimore Orioles. Walk it off in the 9th inning. Padres lose 5-1 to the Los Angeles Dodgers. I almost called them the Detroit Dodgers. Tony Gonsolin, 10-0 on the season. Unbelievable. Good for him. 10 victories without a loss. A's win over the Mariners. 3-1 victory there. James Caprillian with a nice outing. Shout out James Caprillian. White Sox and Giants. 1-0 victory for the White Sox in this one. Not a whole lot of runs there. And the Yankees and Guardians rained out again. So, a lot of baseball to talk about. Let's start with that last one I mentioned there. The Yankees and Guardians, man. I feel I don't have the stats pulled up in front of me, but this has got to be like the 700th game that's been rained out in Cleveland this year. Should Major League Baseball, Rob Manfred, he's so focused on pace of play and all this, should he be focused on making sure games can be played? Should they step in and require these towns with a lot of rain to build roofs or get a dome? What do you think there?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, just considering like Manfred's, now pondering, I mean, he's really pushing hard for expanding baseball to like 32 teams, which I don't necessarily disagree with. It's just kind of like, get your cards in order. I think if you got like teams that are consistently unable to play, I mean, you just look at, the record of the Guardians and you can add up the amount of wins and losses compared to other teams that consistently play. And they've missed quite a bit. So it's like, I don't know how they're going to be able to make those up. It's definitely going to put a lot of strain on the players to have to make those up in double headers, potentially leading to injury. There's all sorts of factors there. And obviously the biggest bummer is, not being able to play. The fan base is let down, etc. So I think focusing on all of those good things for the sport is not necessarily a bad thing, but of course we want to make sure that teams can play, and I think that starts with, like you said, potentially mandating roofs in places where realistically it do be raining.
It really do be
Yeah.
raining. And I mean, there's ways to do it. There's the revenue sharing. The luxury tax. They'll give money to teams, smaller budget teams and whatnot to make up for that. But honestly, I think they could easily, with that luxury tax money, if the teams are crying about building roofs and stuff, they could send it over to them, help them pay for it at least, or something. Give them
Totally.
some sort of credit to help them out. But it just sucks, man. I can't imagine being a Guardians fan and getting like 3 games rained out a week. It feels like it's unbearable, man. Like I don't
Yeah.
know. Like I can't imagine if the Rays didn't have a roof. It rains every day here in Florida, so they built a dome stadium. Just makes sense. I know the Cleveland Guardians owner is cheap and he just had to pay for a rebrand, but got to do something about it, man. It is ridiculous to have this many games canceled in the season.
Yeah.
All right. The Brewers, 19 runs we already touched on against the Pirates today, 19-2. Corbin Burns had a no-hitter going into the 7th inning in this one. Just a phenomenal game from everything in the Brewers side, and the Cardinals are struggling right now. So if the Brewers add at the trade deadline, I know they're kind of seen as like the little brother of the NL East. The NL Central is not really that well respected. If they add at the trade deadline, could they possibly become World Series favorites, at least out of the National League, to represent the NL?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's hard because ultimately, like, both central divisions kind of seen as babies, unfortunately, of their respective leagues. And with teams like the Mets and the Dodgers and even the Padres, I'd go as far as to say I think at least at this current time, kind of favor them as a potential candidate there. So, I mean, it would definitely, if they can bolster their offense, which has been a problem for them at the trade deadline, and with that bullpen that's pretty lethal, I think that could potentially, make them a contender. But at this current moment, I'm still struggling to see that until it kind of happens. It's just one of those things that I can maybe like hypothetically imagine, but I don't know, man.
Yeah.
It's tough. What are you thinking?
I mean, the pitching staff I think is there. I think they have a World Series
Yeah.
caliber pitching staff. The lineup they just keep ignoring. It's like it's a better situation than the Angels were in all those years. We used to talk about them needing pitching, but they've got to. We can talk about it all we want, but they got to go out and add a guy like Josh Bell, or if they can find a way to muscle Juan Soto away from the Nats, that would be huge. Or just any bat they can get their hands on. Nelson Cruz would be a good bat for them. Pretty much any offensive help they can get. Brandon Drury would be a great fit. There's so many good fits out there for them. There's not necessarily any huge franchise changing bats, but they've got to get a good lineup 1 through 9 in there, and they just don't have it right now. So
Yeah.
I think it's possible. I think their pitching staff is the best in the National League. I'll go out and say that right now. I think it is. Even with the full healthy Mets, I think they have a more complete pitching staff, especially on the back end with Hader and Williams. But their offense is the only thing holding them back, and it's frustrating that the fans can see it, but the front office doesn't want to act on it. So
Yeah, and I mean ultimately like they don't need those game-changing players per se. They just need some solid bats. So like you said, if they can pick up a few of those guys, who knows? I mean they're a great team. Like don't get me wrong. There's a lot of competition in these other NL divisions. So it's definitely an uphill battle for them at this point. But there's a lot of season left, so we'll have to see.
yeah, hopefully they're active at the trade deadline. But
Yeah.
their NL Central, their biggest competition for the Brewers, the St. Louis Cardinals. In the middle of a rough stretch of games, some tough opponents coming up while the Brewers are beating up on teams like the Pirates. Today they were playing the Philadelphia Phillies. They've been one of the hottest teams in baseball for a little while now. Nolan Arenado hit for the cycle with a single late in the game, but the Cardinals did not win. Sort of an Angels-esque game, a Tungsten Armo Doyle game, would you say? What other team would do something this embarrassing. So Nolan Arenado hits for the cycle, lose 5-3. Which team, the Phillies or the Cardinals, do you have more confidence in seeing this October? Or do you even, are either of these teams going to make the playoffs? Are both of them? What do you think?
Well, yeah, I actually forgot to mention this in the Brewers question, but I do think the Cardinals are potential threats for the Central at this point. So winning that division is not out of the possibility at this current time. They're only 2 games back. Whereas, the Phillies have a team like the Braves and the Mets to get by. I mean, sure, they could get a wild card spot. That's true. But I don't know. Teams can really in the playoffs can just, especially wild card teams we saw with the 0-2 Angels, back in the day. But wild card teams can really be special in the postseason. So if the Phillies get that, then perhaps. But I think I have a little more confidence in the Cardinals right now. But what's your take on it?
Yeah, the Phillies are good, but I agree with you. It comes down to the competition. I think if the Phillies were in the NL Central, I think they probably would have made the postseason a couple years now. But specifically this year, I think they could definitely run the table in the Central, and it'd be so nice for them to get some free wins against the Cubs, the Pirates, and the Reds.
Mhm.
And I think the Cardinals definitely they're currently in a wild card spot, so statistically speaking, it would be easier for them to make the postseason. But I will say the Phillies have been a lot better than I've expected. We knew their offense was going to be good. We knew their defense was going to be bad. Without Harper for a while, I'm not sure that the Phillies have a real shot anymore. I will say the offense is still good even without Harper. Schwarber's a big bat. Castellanos a huge bat. They do got to get some of the younger guys going. Bryson Stott's been really struggling at the major league level. Alec Boehm's been struggling a little bit. So it's really going to come down to how far their starting pitching and those big bats in the middle of the order can take them. Whereas the Cardinals, I feel like, are a little more complete team, and hopefully they're active at the trade deadline. I think the Cardinals could be a fairly scary team if they add a little bit specifically to the rotation. I think they'd be a great fit for a guy like Luis Castillo or Frankie Montas. So I could definitely
Totally.
see. I like I said, probably the Cardinals make the postseason. I don't think the Phillies do, unfortunately, which sucks because they're the second longest postseason drought in the MLB.
Yeah, I have a fun fact about the Phillies offense. Kyle Schwarber in the month of June hit more home runs than the Tigers.
Yeah, I saw that on Twitter.
Or
Kyle
the same,
Schwarber.
I think. It was 12 and 12. So pretty
That's just
crazy.
insane, man. The Tigers
Yeah.
are so bad. They're embarrassing. They're an
Yes.
embarrassment, which sucks. Cause I
It's
thought they were
tough.
going to be good this year, but this is actually a good segue. Speaking of bad offenses, the worst pitcher in baseball, Jose Barrios, took the mound against the Tampa Bay Rays in Toronto yesterday, and the Rays only put up 2 runs on him. Now the Rays offense, I've been monitoring it for a while. WRC plus, probably my favorite stat. They're pretty much dead last. Like they're in the company of the Pirates and the Reds and all these bad teams we talk about. The Rays are in that company when it comes to offense. They just haven't been able to get it done this year. Are the Rays' postseason hopes in jeopardy right now? It feels like they, coming into the year, were probably the favorite, or at least the favorite for second place in this division. Right now, it's hard to even call them the fourth best team in this division with the way the Orioles are playing. But what do you think? Are their hopes in jeopardy for the postseason?
Yeah, I mean, for making the postseason, I mean, yeah, it's tough, man. This AL East division just alone is shaping up to be so competitive. And like you said, I mean, the Orioles are sure they're in last place, but like they're really not that far behind of I think skill wise too. Like I think that they definitely have some potential. There's a lot of season left. So, the Rays are a fourth place team right now, but who knows? In terms of slipping even farther. I'm not really sure, but there are positives happening. We just got Wander Franco back. Glasnow's coming back as well. So strong arm there. So potentially they could surpass the Red Sox, maybe get themselves in a third place spot. And I mean, Red Sox and Blue Jays are close as well. So I mean, in terms of like winning the East, the Yankees have that. I mean, we know that. And we know it's going to be hard competition in that in the AL postseason with the Yankees and Astros just being such phenomenal teams. But I I think it's really congested in the AL East right now, and not so congested in any other division, really. I mean, minus maybe the Guardians and Twins, and but I would say that's by far the most congested. So if they were in a different division, it's kind of a similar situation as we talked about earlier, but just the curse of being in a certain division. But I definitely expected more from the Rays this year. So it is kind of a bummer to see that they're, closer to a 500 team than, several games above. But a lot of time left, a lot of season to play. So, but what are your thoughts on
Yeah,
that?
I mean, the last year we saw the Rays have a similar issue in the first half. They didn't have enough offense, and they went out and they traded for Nelson Cruz, and they ended up picking up Jordan Luplow as well. I believe I can't remember what team he came over from, but Jordan Luplow was helpful there. Nelson Cruz was helpful. I think they could. I could see them making a small move. I don't know who would be for. I think Josh Bell might be a little bit out of their price range, but I think Josh Bell would be a great fit for this squad. My favorite guy, my favorite shade ship in the world, Brandon Drury. I'm gonna bring his name up for every team that needs offensive help. I think he'd be a great fit, and he's a small name. Like Brandon Drury sounds like a Tampa Bay Ray. Sounds like a Tampa Bay Ray.
Oh yeah,
I
fits.
honestly, if I don't know what team he played for. I feel like he wasn't on the. I think he was on the Mets earlier, but anyways, he feels like he would be a great fit for them. There's definitely pieces out there that they could trade for if they want some offensive help, and I think all they need to do is make maybe one or two moves because Randy Arozarena can still hit the ball pretty well. Wander Franco's still a very good ball player, potential MVP candidate with his healthy. And it definitely doesn't help that guys like Manuel Margot and Kevin Kiermaier are on the injured list. So
Yeah.
hopefully, I don't know. The Rays always seem to surprise us. Maybe they'll bring up a random prospect and they'll be God's gift to baseball. I'm never too worried about the Rays, but I will say this year the division is much more competitive. I definitely don't see them winning the division, but it's hard to count them out of the wild card. They always seem to surprise us every year. So until
Sure,
they
yeah.
stop doing that, like that's why at the beginning of the year I predicted them to win the division because until they prove that they can't, I'm going to keep putting them up in that conversation. So,
Yeah,
yeah, and like you
that's
said,
fair.
it's going to be huge when they add Glass now. So, one last thing, I feel like I'm asking the same question over and over again about playoff hopes, but the Giants and the White Sox, they had a little pitchers duel out in not Chicago, out in San Francisco today, or last night, I guess. 0 runs until the top of the ninth inning. The White Sox were able to score 1 run off Camilo Doval, the Giants closer. Both of these teams having somewhat of a disappointing season. We kind of pictured both of these teams being in the thick of the postseason hunt. Maybe the Giants were a little bit outside of the postseason hunt in some people's rankings, but I had them winning the NL West actually. Both these teams kind of having disappointing seasons. Similar question I asked about the Cardinals and Phillies, but are both of these teams making the playoffs, or neither one of these teams making the playoffs? Where do you see these teams' playoff chances at the moment? Both teams we really thought we were going to see in October at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I would say for me, I mean, just maybe this is just my attention, like, because again, I do, kind of realistically pay more attention to the American League. But I think my expectations were that the White Sox would be a lot better than they are currently performing. I didn't really pay too much attention to the Giants in this off season, so yeah, I mean, at this current time, like they're closer to a wild card spot than I think the White Sox are, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, the White
Um,
Sox are going for the division for the most part.
yeah, I mean,
It's the
and they're
same
yeah,
shows.
I guess in that regard, they're closer. So it's kind of like counterbalance there, because I mean, they're closer in the division, farther out from the wild card, but Giants are close to the wild card, a little bit farther out in the division. So I mean, I would say they're pretty, level at this current time, but I think the Giants have a stronger pitching staff. Um, is that weird to say? Would you say?
Not particularly. I mean, they have bigger names, I guess, and the Giants are also really good at developing pitching. We saw them turn
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Gossman into an elite starting pitcher. He was terrible in Baltimore before he got there.
Yeah.
Anthony DeSclafani was terrible with the Reds and became a very solid arm for the Giants last year. He struggled a little bit this year, but their problem's been injuries. Alex Cobb hasn't been able to stay healthy and is nowhere near the pitcher he was last season with the Angels. DeSclafani's been on the injured list most of the year. Alex Wood spent some time on the IL.
Yeah.
It's really going to come
tough.
down to consistency with the Giants.
Well,
but...
I think for the sake of or the build of the division, I think I see the White Sox. If I had to pick between these two teams, I think I see the White Sox making the playoffs more likely or winning their division because the Central is just such a vulnerable division for these top three teams. You got the White Sox, Guardians, and Twins, and I don't really know if I necessarily see the Guardians keeping up this pace. To be honest with you, I mean it'd be great if they did. It's cool to see them as a competitive team, but realistically, I think as the months balance out and potential acquisitions happen, I do see the White Sox and Twins kind of battling it out for that spot. So. Whereas the NL West is competitive. I mean, everyone's talking Dodgers, Padres, and I mean you never know, but I think it's much less likely. So I guess that would kind of be my answer.
I
for
mean,
sure.
Like I said, I think I agree with you. The Giants have a harder path to the postseason than the White Sox do. The White Sox, all they got to do is get their shit together in the second half. And just beat up on the Tigers, beat up on the Royals, probably beat up on the Guardians too. I mean, I don't know if the Guardians, what they're doing is sustainable right now. And then the Twins bullpen is a train wreck right now. I don't even know if they trade for 3 bullpen arms if it's going to be good enough. It's an absolute train wreck right now. Emilio Pagan is awful. The rest of their bullpen is also awful. I'm a bit impressed by their starting rotation, but overall, I think the White Sox still are far and beyond the best team on paper, and I think throughout a 162-game season, there's no way they can keep playing this bad, right? Right?
Yeah, and if you match the potential, like what we've seen with the White Sox offense too, if you match that with the Twins, atrocious bullpen currently, I think that's a recipe for potentially a lot of interdivision wins there. So that would also bolster their numbers. So if they can reignite that offense, which we did see them do, albeit when an Angels pitcher was potentially tipping his pitches, but at the same time, like we know that they have the potential to have a lethal offense, and what we expected of them at the beginning of the year could still come to form in some capacity, at least enough to win a division that's not very strong, I would say, or definitely the weaker division out of all of the American League. So it's close, man.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. So I hope I see both these teams in the postseason. I'm a big fan of both of these teams.
Yeah.
Outside of the Angels, obviously I'm a huge Angels fan, but Giants I would love to see in the postseason. I love rooting for them. They're a fun team. Same thing with the White Sox. They got a good young crowd, a good energy about them. We'll say White Sox fans are kind of scary to me though. They're terrifying. They were chanting overrated at Mike Trout. For the love of God, man, they're scary. But
yeah.
Anyways, I think that is going to do it for us today here on Good Morning Baseball. We appreciate you guys all tuning in. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And I almost forgot to mention Thrive Fantasy. Thank you for sponsoring this video. We actually hit a parlay on stream yesterday, turned $15 into $165. Don't mean to brag or anything. I'm just Mr. Moneybags over here. They call me Jeffrey Bezos. That's what NMR stands for. It's Jeffrey Bezos, NMR. Same difference.
Yeah,
but use code NMR when you sign up or click the link in the description and you get 100% match on your first deposit as well as 2 free $20 entries into their daily fantasy contest if you deposit at least $10. So we appreciate you guys watching. Be sure to leave a like on the video, help it reach as many baseball fans as possible. And don't forget to subscribe for more MLB content. We post daily videos here, and we're trying to hit 2,000 by the All-Star break. So appreciate you guys watching once again. Have a great rest of your day.